Hey there, Teisha Rose here, founder of Hurdle to Hope, and I'm very excited to be back on the online prosperity show. Really excited to give you an update as to what's been happening over the last 6 months. More work in the health and wellness sector, now working with healthcare professionals as well as people living with health conditions. So hopefully you get lots out of this episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I want to say welcome back to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. And I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga. And today I have an incredibly special guest who, for the second time, is gracing us with her presence. Now, Teisha, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Prosper. Very excited to have another chat to you.
I know, it's been 6 months, and from what you've been telling me, it's been jam-packed with action, and I can't wait to, share that with the audience and also celebrate in all the successes that you've accomplished in this very short amount of time, huh?
I know, it flies, doesn't it? I still can't believe. And then, in 6 months' time, then it will be another year. So it goes so quick. But that is good. It means things are going well. So I've got lots to update you on.
Absolutely, I quite like that. And for those that are watching this is now a time for you to actually subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show, because you're missing out on, these exclusive interviews. And if you missed out on Teisha's last appearance, let me just tell you, she's actually a powerhouse in health and wellness, a mindset magician, and also the founder of Hurdle to Hope. And she's been transforming lives with her healing mindset course, and she's actually really expanded her magic touch into now what she's doing with healthcare professionals, and talk about leveling up. And also, did I also mention she also has a podcast? She's a podcast host of her own, and she's an author, and also living proof that even if you're facing any sort of chronic illness, there is a hurdle to hope along the way, and you can actually start becoming well if you have the right mindset and the right attitude to be, do, and have a happier existence. So if you missed the first episode, we're going to be, sort of touching on what we spoke about in the last one, and also updating where Teisha is at right now. And Teisha's story is nothing short of inspiring. And I think today we're going to go a little bit deeper, not deeper into the hoods. I mean, obviously she now has, her and a partner are living on 100 acres, and they've completely canceled everybody, and enjoying their quiet time there. Now, Teisha, before we actually dive into your story of resilience, let's maybe start off a little bit light, because I know we're going to get heavy a little later on. I mean, I hear you've recently rediscovered your voice. I mean, quite literally. How good, how good have you become now in, telling people what it is that you do, and how you are actually helping them?
Yeah. So you're right. I have rediscovered my voice. I lost my voice there for nearly a year. I couldn't speak, but they think the trauma of everything I've gone through. So as a bit of an update of what I have been through over the last couple of years, I chatted about in the last episode we did that my life has been interrupted by two major health conditions. First, as a 22-year-old, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. A healthy 22-year-old just starting my career at Telstra after 2 degrees at university. It was very aggressive early on. I spent a lot of time in hospital, but I also had some incredible experiences, traveled the world, did some amazing things. Life was going great. I hadn't had a relapse since 2012. Then in 2022, another massive health challenge. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. As I was preparing for my mastectomy, the surgeon called with the terrifying news that that cancer had already spread. So now I was dealing with stage 4 breast cancer. So the last 2 years have been emotional. And part of that emotion was, and the trauma of I went through, I literally did lose my voice through muscle tension dysphonia. My voice is back, and I am in remission. I did end up having a double mastectomy, but I'm now in remission. The cancer in my liver, my sternum, not there at the moment. So I am embracing this, I guess, new lease of life, this new perspective, and so excited now of what is ahead of me. So that's a bit of a health update there, Prosper.
Fantastic. And just hearing your voice, you literally saying this by yourself, this wouldn't have been possible had we been in touch, in that time. So it's just
Yes.
remarkable how you've managed to obviously heal in that sort of regard. Now, you've had your own fair share of health challenges, like you've mentioned, from
Yeah.
the MS to the stage 4 breast cancer, just even the voice and things of that nature. But the things that you're doing seemingly are using the very things that you seem to have lost: your voice, your strength, your power, and your own resilience. Let us know a little bit about how your own personal experiences are now shaping, first of all, the courses and the work that you're putting out there.
Yeah, and I think the universe really stepped in with me losing my voice, because I think that really made me stop and focus on my healing. And what I did during that time is I applied all of the insights I learned in living well with MS to then dealing with stage 4 breast cancer. And those insights have helped. I have got through some really dark times with MS, and I'm applying everything I learned to this new massive, hurdle in cancer. And I started getting excited by that. And I thought, I don't want to just help myself. I know more than ever what I learned in my 20s and 30s is helping me now in my 40s, but I didn't want it to stop there. I thought I need to honor what I had gone through at such a young age. And now I need to add to it the wisdom of someone now as a 49-year-old, but then package that in a meaningful way to help others deal with their own health challenges. And that meant the Hurdle to Hope roadmap was born, and that has become the basis of everything I do. And I'm sure we'll, dive into it more later, but it's really about helping others to engage their mindset, to harness their strength, to regain their power and build their resilience when their life is interrupted by a health challenge.
Absolutely. And obviously, some people might not have experienced it in that sort of intensity, but
Yeah.
just given the last few years, there was a bit of a health scare which really shook a lot of people. And you
Yeah.
never know, what's, in store for each and every one of us in the future. But somebody who has gone through what you're going through would have been sitting or just sitting and in fetal position and saying, oh, I need to look after me and worry about myself. But you've actually expanded and started working with healthcare professionals through the workshops that you're doing. And first of all, what's been the response from that community?
Yeah, and this is what I'm really launching into now, because my background, when I was diagnosed with MS, I had a Bachelor of Business Management, a Bachelor of Arts Psychology. I started a corporate career in Telstra in training and development. So that teaching people has always been a passion. I then had a career change and did social work, and that opened my world. And so I stepped into the world of allied health professionals. And I thought, what can I do to bring my expertise and all I've learned as a social worker, but the unique position I have now as someone who has lived through two massive health challenges. So I thought, and I started playing around with the Hurdle to Hope roadmap and seeing how can this be a tool for those working in the field, not only to look after their own well-being, but also to know how they can assist someone else move forward from hurdle to hope. So I just thought I am in such a unique position. Why not use that to help more people?
Absolutely, because the insights that you're giving these, healthcare professionals, they are things that they would have never been able to experience. And knowing how, you know, these people have what they call a bedside manner. But if you don't exactly know what the person or the patient is actually going through, no matter what you try, it just might not seem to be enough because they don't have that actual empathy and lived experience. And how do you think these insights that you're giving them are now reshaping the patient care experience? Because I can only imagine good things.
Yeah, and what I do is, I'll say to anyone living with a health condition or anyone working with someone with a health condition, there are three situations that that person in a living with cancer or MS or whatever it is will keep going through. They'll go through stages of crisis. They'll, whether it's a new diagnosis or a new prognosis or whatever that crisis is. Then they'll go through what I call emotional turmoil. And that is the absolute frustration of your life being impacted by your illness. You see, I'm fisting my hand because I can feel the frustration. And that is the absolute frustration. But then it's helping them to let go of that and really work out what their priorities in life are. And then the third situation, which someone will always get to, at different times is new beginnings, realizing that when I was diagnosed with MS and now cancer, my life will never be the same. But that's okay. I can still have a life filled with hope, but we need to start challenging our thinking around how we do things. So once you break it down simply, then I'll say to physios, for example, there's not a person that will come through your doors that's not in one of those situations. So if you can work out how to interact in each of those situations, then that's going to be easier for you. You won't say the wrong thing. You'll be having an impact and helping them, and it's going to be better for your client as well.
It really stems around some a mindset, isn't it? You know what I mean? If the other party really knows exactly what is going on and they have the right attitude and the right mindset, healing can actually then commence. And
Yeah.
most of us just struggle with mindset, even without a health crisis. I almost canceled this show today because I broke a nail, and I was just thinking, oh, this is probably.
Lucky you didn't cancel. But you're right. And I think we get confused by what we mean by mindset as well. And if I think back to when I was dealing with MS in my 20s, when someone said it's about your mindset, I thought that meant you had to be positive all the time. And I've deviated from that definition. Of course, having a positive outlook helps, but you need to be having the ability to shift your mindset depending on the situation. So I talk about if you are in crisis, if when I hang up the phone from the doctor being told your cancer has spread, I will never probably experience that type of fear again in my life. Well, I know what do I do with my mindset in that moment to get through it. And that's what I talk about in crisis. Your mindset needs to be focused on harnessing your strength. You need to do everything you can to tap into your strengths that you have. They're there, but you need to create an environment which enables them to come to the surface. So I talk about make sure you surround yourself during a crisis with people that don't add to your stress and anxiety. Those friends, don't ring those friends up or family members up who are going to add to your fear. Or I talk about surround yourself by information that is trustworthy. Don't start Googling it late at night about the statistics of stage 4 breast cancer. So there's all these things that we can do in the very moment we hit crisis to help us heal from the very beginning.
Absolutely. And I can't stress this enough. If you Google in a different state, Google will only respond based on who you are at that particular time. And whatever results that you get are not necessarily the truth or the thing that you need to go with. So, so many people get, maybe self-diagnosed just predicated
Yeah.
on, they Google from a point of fear, not from a point of what is the actual truth in this whole scenario. Now, you mentioned and you talked about how your goal after being told, you had stage 4 cancer, it actually then gave you that confidence to really start expanding your message. What is it about that exact experience that actually then felt like a turning point for you?
Yeah, I think it is that really giving me confidence. You talk about imposter syndrome in business life, and you have that too, even in dealing with like MS. I was thinking, is that just a fluke? Is that just a fluke that I've done really well with MS? Maybe it wasn't as bad, or maybe, and I think, no, my MS experience was horrendous in my 20s. I spent months and months in hospital, petrified twice. I would never walk again. And so I think it was then stepping into, okay, it wasn't a fluke because now I'm applying it to a totally different illness and all my mindset shifts are working. So that's given me confidence. So now I'm not filled with self doubt. I'm not thinking, oh, I better not do a course or I better not talk to that person on my podcast because I'm not an authority in this space, but I think no. So I'm really stepping into it now and thinking, no, I've got all of these insights. This is part of why I'm here. I truly believe that part of the reason that these two massive illnesses have come my way is because I've got the ability to unpack them and then work out how I can help others through my experience.
Sort of like, to whom much is given, much is required. And you know what I mean? In as
Yeah.
much as, I mean, I'm saying this with utmost love and respect, but had this maybe before fallen on somebody else, they wouldn't have been able to actually utilize it in the way that you have utilized it. But there has to be an element of hope that you obviously will be giving yourself. Otherwise, like you say, this whole thing will just bring you crashing down, and you just maybe just sort of resign to, okay, we'll just see how it all pans out. And I love the way you sort of describe, I think it's on your site there, where you say hope is an active force rather than a passive resignation. Maybe can you talk a little bit more about how you actually define hope? Because some people would be in a hopeless situation if their credit card declines and they think all is lost. That the whole world is watching and everybody just had a microscope into their bank account. And how does hope play in your daily life? What role does it
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah. I started writing for Brains magazine, and I've loved that experience because I've been able to put into words, what's been racing around my head. And I heard someone thought that I was in denial. And I didn't take offense to that, but they thought, she's walking around on her new property and she thinks life's great. Does she not realize that she has stage 4 terminal, incurable cancer? And I thought, wow, I'm putting that across. So that person's thinking that. Other people must be thinking that as well. And that's what concerned me. And I thought, there's no toxic positivity here. Positivity here. I'm very authentic to my feelings. The terror I've experienced with breast cancer is real. And I've been in dark, dark places. But what I realized was, yeah, absolutely, I have hope for the future. And that's because I've accepted I have breast cancer, stage 4 breast cancer, and MS. No denying that. I said to someone, pretty stupid if I have a double mastectomy, if I deny the fact, the reality that I have breast cancer. It would have been pointless. So I accept that I've got breast cancer, but I will actively accept my current situation. I'll do everything I can to keep my legs moving with MS. I'll do everything I can holistically to make sure through energy healing that I am healthy with cancer. So there's so many things I actively do that I think where people fall down is that they passively accept their situation. There's some sort of resignation to it, thinking, oh, I've got stage 4 breast cancer. There's no point doing anything. I might as well sit in a dark room because I can't have an impact on my situation. And that's where it's different, because I truly believe that I can have an impact on anything that happens to me. I live with uncertainty. I've got no idea what will happen with my cancer. It's in remission now. My oncologist says, there's no cure. It can come back at any time. But I know that no matter what happens, I can have an impact on that experience. And that's what gives me hope.
Absolutely. And when we jumped on the call today, we were talking about everything you've done in the 6 months, and I'm just thinking, wow, what have I accomplished? And you've been doing so much. You put together the farm. Now you guys are anticipating solar. You were talking about water tanks, and I think things like that, just in anticipation of something, just gives you something to say, you know what, I
Yeah.
want to see that through. I want to, because
Yes.
why go through all of this? If you can't have front row seats to watch it when it's all done, and when it just gives you that certainty that, you know what, when this happens, I'll be there, so I like that a lot. Some people would just not have anything to look forward to, and if you then don't, hey, whatever it is that is keeping us breathing might just say, hey, if there's
Yeah.
nothing lined up, then you know what, that could be the way it goes. But since the last time you were on the show, you've talked about um, being up there in Daisy Hill, 100 acres. What's it like? Tell us what's it like, just waking up to vastness.
Loving it. Absolutely loving it. It's something I've never experienced. So I've been camping and done things, but I was so excited, and I knew from the moment we saw the property, and this was just a dream for us, and we started going for drives and we started just visualizing this happening. And we got this property at, and it all happened, and we sold up and we've moved there. And having this experience has enabled my healing because I'm so calm. At the moment, we're living in a caravan. So if you're going to be stressed out at each other with my partner, Andrew, and I, it would be living in a caravan. But I said, I must be loving it because I'm still really carefree, and I waking up to hearing the birds. It sounds cliched, but it does so much for your soul, being in that space and being in the right, I guess, energy to heal. And it's amazing. And it's good for my MS because I use an off-road walker because there's so many little rocks and all around. So, I can take my dogs for a walk. I could never do that down here because I'd trip over the leads. And so I'm walking more than ever. I'm outside. I'm just not watching the TV all the time. We're off the grid. It's amazing. I'm absolutely loving it.
At the end of the day, I viscerally believe TV is just designed to really, really take people off of,
Mm.
concentrating on themselves and, look at things that seemingly don't matter. I mean, even if you hear that there's war in Bujumbura, what would you do with it today? You know what I mean? Instead of you sitting in front of, like you say, trees, watching, like right now, it's springtime. You can actually watch the flowers bloom, and I think that's a remarkable experience in and of itself. Even in our area, I mean, obviously I'm still, living in the city, and you walk past in the nature strips, there's those little trees that are blooming, and you can start seeing them, smiling and happy and excited that the sun is out. And that's just, nature speaking to us. And if you can't experience that,
Yeah.
then whoa, there's no hope for that kind of person. But you introduced us to the Teisha that had that first sort of diagnosis of MS while you were, in the high stakes at Telstra. I can only imagine, back in that time, Telstra was one of the biggest telecommunication companies, still is. And so there would have been much that was expected off of you. So coming from that sort of high stakes position to now having to sit back and, like we said, watch flowers grow, what's that experience like?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I was at our local pub, which is, very different. And I was saying I went to school in the middle of Melbourne, on Albert Park Lake, that area. And I said, my life has changed so much. Um, and I'm pleased for those experiences, and I loved my time at Telstra. And I know that's for a reason because I learned how to stand in front of a group of people and train. So, that was really good groundwork for me. But gosh, it's so different now. And yeah, you just don't, people you used to hear people living with breast cancer or a cancer diagnosis and it changes your life forever, and it does because having a significant diagnosis gives you renewed perspective. You know what's important, and you get so caught up in work and in jobs, and your world is so small because it's just about that. And you can't think of things differently. You don't even hop off that conveyor belt, and you're just in automatic pilot. You're not on automatic pilot when you're sitting on 100 acres looking up at the stars trying to work out which one is a star or a satellite, or listening to birds. It's just so grounding and really makes you present that living on automatic pilot won't happen to me again.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to give people perspective. I mean, Albert Park, where she grew up, is where we do the Formula One. So you can only imagine.
No, we couldn't afford to live there. I had to get a train to get there, but our school was there.
But it's sort of the same area where that
Yeah,
whole world buzz, hustle, and
yeah.
bustle is happening. And then now you've just really gone away from everybody and their noise, and I love that. I absolutely love that. But not only are you healing yourself in the process, I mean, your work has touched so many lives. And what's been the most sort of rewarding moment so far in your journey, and how has that sort of impacted you personally?
There's so many moments. I think even like you would experience doing a podcast and sharing people's stories. Who Our most recent podcast was someone living with rheumatoid arthritis and talking about the real difficulties in having children when you're living with a chronic illness. And then I did a podcast. I thought I've got to be vulnerable as well. We haven't had children, and so I opened up about the grief around that. And I do that because I know there's people listening going through that grief, and I want to provide hope for them that they can still have a meaningful life. So when you get messages that those insights help and you connect with people, that's what I love, and sharing. Yeah, I interviewed someone with limb girdle muscular dystrophy, paralyzed from their neck down. And our conversation was so raw and real that the feedback from that is what inspires me to keep going, because I'm learning from others as well, but then using those insights to help others. So yeah, I'm just loving it. I'm loving meeting people. I'm loving learning from others, but encouraging others that whatever's happened, there still is hope that you can have an impact on your future, and to get excited about that. So yeah, so there's so many aspects. I'm loving it, and I just can't wait for what's ahead of me as well.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say this with utmost love and respect. That there's that quote that says, "I used to curse the fact that I didn't have shoes up until I met a person who didn't have feet." And you can only imagine, you were talking about your off-road walker, which obviously I was trying to imagine what that would look like and things of that nature. Yet you're talking about other people that literally can only speak from the neck
Yeah.
up, and things of that nature. So that must just be something. Now, before we sort of wrap up, maybe just remind our viewers about Hurdle to Hope, and what sort of message would you like to impart on us today?
Yeah, I think my message, so Hurdle to Hope for me is working with individuals living with an illness and the healing mindset course. It's then with practitioners. So let's, work together. Our healthcare practitioners do incredible work. So I'm wanting to make sure their well-being is prioritized as well as connecting with us. And now I'm stepping into and pushing myself out of my comfort zone into speaking engagements as well. So that's sort of the third area of work that I'm doing in Hurdle to Hope. And I mentioned before, part of the Professional Speakers Australian Academy. So that's been really scary but good, learning lots. So I'm really excited about that. And I guess my message for everyone is, and I said this when I wrote my book, nearly 10 years ago, is that unexpected hurdles interrupt all of our lives. That's a given, but it's our mindset that can have an impact on that experience. And that's what MS taught me. That's what's been confirmed by stage 4 breast cancer. And that's what really motivates me to work with people with their mindset, because you can have an impact on your experience. And by doing that, hope will always be there.
Quite like that. Quite like that. And with regards to all that you've said, I will be putting all those links in the show notes, and hopefully we can follow your speaking journey and get to see some of your contributions as an executive contributor in Brains magazine right there. So I can't wait to see all that unfold. And for those that are watching right now, yes, you might be going through stuff, or you might be experiencing a few hurdles, but obviously hope is on the way. Just be sure to check out those links in the show notes below. But speaking of hope, Teisha, what's next? What should we anticipate in the next episode? Because now this is becoming a tradition.
Yes, it is. Okay. So my manifesting is going to happen. But yeah, I realized that when I turn 50 next year, and when I turned 40, my goal was to write a book, and I did that in 2015. So now I'm wanting to write another book to really, I guess, bring to the forefront of everything I've now learnt with breast cancer and stage 4 cancer as well. So next time, hopefully, I'll be well and truly into the process of writing my book, which, yeah, I'm excited about where that will take me.
Fantastic. Well, as you would understand and as you would know, my people will follow you up until you surrender. So as soon as that book is out, definitely we'll be sending them your way so that we can actually get a lot of it, and especially have front row seats to unravel the greatness that you are actually living in, the experience that you are. So I can't thank you enough for taking us up on this for the second time. And yeah, here's to a successful speaking career. And now that you've got your voice back, don't lose it in the process.
I won't. But thank you so much, Prosper. I really love what you do. And I was, yeah, only too happy to reconnect with you and share an update of my story.
Fantastic. Well, as you said, you've got open space in your area. We might, you might have just invited a squatter. I'll just be minding my own business in the corner there.
That's right. No, we're that's what we said. Our place is open to friends and family because we just feel the healing energy on it, and we just want people to come and experience it as well.
Fantastic. You know what? I definitely would maybe use and take you up on that offer,
Yay.
and maybe get the girls to experience a night, under the stars. And did you say you've got electricity so we can pack the TV and the phones and the computer games and all the screens that we have?
No, no. We're on a generator at the moment, and that only comes on and off sparingly.
So we wouldn't want to use up all your electricity. Fantastic. Well, thank you once again, Tisha. I mean, obviously, there's just so much that we could unravel, but in the time that we have in this show today, I think you've just given us yet another gift, of your time, your voice, and everything else that comes along with it. So, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Prosper.
Fantastic. And for those that are watching right now, be sure to follow Tisha and maybe just get her book, the old one, which is Life Interrupted. And I think we'll be putting the links for that book in the show notes, or just go onto her website so you can also check out her podcast where she is actually talking to other people that are going through life in the way that they are and experiencing it in the way that it has been presented to them, and it's called Wellbeing Interrupted. I'm supposing this podcast is on all channels. Is it Spotify, Amazon, Apple? Fantastic. Be sure to check it out, and also make sure to check out her work at Hurdle to Hope, whether you're living with a chronic illness or you're just looking for strength in your own life. I think Tisha has something for you. And I think I usually say this, but I need you to rewatch this episode for more of the wisdom that you might have just scrolled through without actually understanding what is being said. And while you're at it, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of this inspiring content that you only get on the Online Prosperity Show. Until next time, keep striving, for that enjoyable existence, and just know that hope is out there.